Hello and good morning. This is Drew Kennedy with Standard of Care Advisors. We are here today with Connor Edgecombe from 401k Retirement Division of MFS. He's going to walk us through some pretty helpful Social Security information today. There's a lot of information in this presentation, as well as a few tips and tricks for maximizing your overall household retirement income. And with that, here is Connor Edgecombe with MFS.
Thanks, Drew. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Connor Edgecombe with MFS Investment Management. Appreciate everyone's time today. So I'm on the defined contribution team here at MFS, which means I spend my days talking about retirement, whether that's 401ks, pensions, IRAs, Social Security. They're all important pieces that need to be considered when it comes to preparing for retirement. So I think the title of today's presentation, Preparing for Retirement, it's a fitting title. But honestly, when it comes to Social Security, I have another title in mind, and that is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I'm a fan of old school Westerns, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is one of the best out there. Not only is it a great movie, I think it's a great way to think about Social Security. Social Security is a huge part of the retirement income picture. By the time people are in their 70s, 60% rely on Social Security for over half of their retirement income. I'm going to repeat that. Over 60% of people over the age of 70 rely on Social Security for over half of their retirement income. That's a lot of people relying on and benefiting from Social Security. That's the good. The bad, unfortunately, also 80% of Americans make knee-jerk reactions when it comes to Social Security, and they permanently reduce their benefits. I like to think about it like you're shopping for food at the grocery store when you're hungry. It's just a bad idea. You act impulsively and you make decisions that just don't align with your long-term goals. And of course, there is the ugly. When it comes to Social Security, major mistakes are often made. My grandmother on my dad's side, Emmy, Mary Ellen, or Emmy as we called her, she was accidentally overpaid by Social Security for 14 months. Getting overpaid for 14 months, that doesn't sound so bad, right? At the end of those 14 months, she received a letter from Uncle Sam saying she needed to pay it all back immediately. That total was close to $40,000. I guess fortunately for her, or unfortunately for me, she didn't go spending it on her grandkids. So it didn't completely mess up her retirement plans, but it certainly could have. That's why it's important to be informed on this topic. That's why we're here today. It's great that Drew and the team of Standard of Care puts together these types of events so that we can help everyone navigate these complex topics. But most importantly, the goal is to avoid mistakes. So with that, let's get started. Many of you have gotten your Social Security statements or signed into ssa.gov and created an account. What most people look at is the number in the top right-hand corner, what they're going to get at full retirement age. This is known as your primary insurance amount, or your PIA. Social Security loves acronyms. We got a handful of them today. Some of you also might have looked at the table that lists all the years of earnings you had going back to your first job. To me personally, the most important part, it's at the very beginning. It's a little small here, but what it says is that Social Security is not intended to be your only source of income in retirement. On average, it's going to replace around 40% of your pre-retirement income. Only 40%, not 100%, 40%. And because of this, you're going to want to consider having outside assets. Good news is most of you are here because you have outside assets. Maybe some of you have an IRA, an annuity, pension, 401k. All of these are going to be important components to ensure that you have the type of retirement that you want, that you worked for, and that you're going to be able to enjoy. And Social Security is going to be a really important piece of that, and that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to begin with how benefits are calculated, then move on to benefits for married couples and divorcees, and we're going to finish with everyone's favorite, taxes. So first step, how are retirement benefits calculated? The most important thing to understand is your full retirement age, or FRA. Starts at 66, it's gradually increasing to 67. in order to make things a little more simple today, I'm really just going to say age 67 anytime I'm talking about full retirement age. It just makes it a lot more simple. So anytime I say FRA, full retirement age, I'm probably going to be referencing age 67. And before we go to the next slide, I'm going to go on a quick tangent. This slide is where I like to address the number one question I get from clients and participants. Is Social Security going to be around by the time I'm eligible? Question can be a little political. First things first, Social Security Trust Fund is fully funded till 2032. This number keeps getting pushed back, so I'd say there's no immediate issue. Also, baby boomers, the ones who are currently taking Social Security, also happen to be the largest voting bloc in the United States. So I don't think it'd be a great move politically to try and take away their benefits. My guess is that if any changes are going to be implemented, it would be considerably down the line with plenty of time to plan accordingly. So why do I bring it up here? As we can see here, full retirement age, or FRA, it's transitioning from 66 to 67. My parents are eligible for their full retirement age at 66, and if nothing changes, I'm gonna have to wait a whole nother year to get to my full retirement age. That's essentially a cut to Social Security. Everyone's getting less at 66 than they originally would have. And, this is where I like to ask the question, does anyone have any guesses which president implemented this change, shifting full retirement age from 66 to 67? Here's a hint. It's the only president to star in multiple Western movies. It's Ronald Reagan. He hasn't been president for over 30 years, and this change is just getting implemented now. So these types of things take a lot of time. They usually get pushed out and are usually pushed out far enough that allows whoever is getting that cut, it allows them to plan accordingly. All right. Social Security calculations are based off of your FRA or age 67. Answer to any question is age 67. That's going to be the answer to every question, 67. And if there's a question about I'm younger than, or it's before age 67, 9 times out of 10, answer is going to be no. If you have one takeaway from today's session, remember that 9 times out of 10, if you do anything before age 67, there's nothing but reductions, withholdings, and penalties. So we're talking about your retirement benefit. I'm looking at the chart on the right, the green one. This is what Social Security calls your benefits when you retire. In order to qualify for it, you have to pay in for 40 quarters, and then Social Security averages it out over your highest earning 35 years of work. Not your most recent, but your highest earning years of work. And as long as you keep working, even if you're 85, Social Security is going to go in, select your highest years, and constantly recalculate your benefits. Now, retiring and claiming Social Security, they might sound one and the same, but they're really two separate decisions. Just because you retire doesn't mean that you have to collect Social Security. So again, looking at the chart on the right, as you can see here, if you claim Social Security before age 67, it's reduced. After age 67, it grows by 8% per year. 8% per year. Technically, it's a monthly increase. So another way to think about it is after age 67, every 3 months, you get a 2% raise. This 2% raise is also on top of any cost of living adjustment. So when we think about inflation and how impactful that is, this is why it pays to be patient and let your Social Security benefit grow for as long as you possibly can. Now, when it comes to Social Security and working, we have a little bit of a good news, bad news situation. This is where some of the most common mistakes are made. If you're working, the moment you turn age 67, you can work and earn as much as you want. That's the good news. The bad news is if you're under age 67 and working and decide to collect the Social Security benefit, there's going to be limits on how much you can earn. In 2024, that number is $22,320. Couple of reminders, this reduction is per person and not per couple. Social Security only looks at the earnings of the person collecting Social Security, not the earnings of both spouses. They also only care about your wages, not your unearned income. So the good news is you can earn as much as you want before you collect Social Security. It's only after you collect and only if you're under age 67 that they care about how much you can earn. Another important thing about this, maybe the most important thing, is that this earnings test, it applies to any benefit that you could receive. So that's your spousal benefit, that's your survivor benefit, that's your divorce benefit, that's your own retirement benefit. All of these are going to be temporarily withheld if you're working under the age of 67 and decide to take a benefit. So I know we just went through a lot. What does it all mean? It means the first question I ask when anyone comes to me and says, hey, Connor, when should I take Social Security? The most important thing to know in every circumstance, are you working? Are you working? If you're working and under the age of 67, 9 times out of 10, answer is going to be no. It's really that simple. This test will cause your benefits to be temporarily withheld. So it's just not worth it. So the question becomes, what do I do when I turn 67? Or what do I do when I retire? Do I take Social Security now? Or do I let my benefits continue to grow? And then that's when I'd recommend talking with your current financial advisor about how much you can safely withdraw from your portfolio. If you can live off that amount, maybe consider letting Social Security grow. If, however, you're going to need more than that, maybe that's when you take Social Security. But again, that's a decision you don't want to make without talking with a financial advisor. All right, so now that we know how benefits are calculated, let's talk about your options if you are or were ever married. I'm going to use my parents as an example. Dad's the higher earner, mom's the lower earner. I like to use them. It's just a lot easier to keep track of saying mom and dad. Even if my mom never worked, she can receive up to 50% of my dad's benefit as long as my mom is age 67. She can receive a benefit at 62, but if she applies then, it's going to be permanently reduced, again, because anything before 67 leads to permanent reductions. That's the bad part of Social Security we're trying to avoid. But in order to receive a spousal benefit, my mom and dad have to be currently married for 1 year. This is different for divorcees, which is a 10-year requirement. If you're currently married, it's only 1 year. In order to receive that benefit, my dad has to be receiving his retirement benefit already. If my dad is not receiving his benefit, my mom can't receive a spousal off of my dad. If my mom worked, my mom's going to receive the higher of her retirement benefit or the spousal benefit off of my dad. Unfortunately, not both. Social Security is only going to give you one benefit at a time. Now, that spousal benefit that my mom is receiving, that 50%, is always going to be based off of my dad's age 67 benefit. Not his current benefit, but his age 67 benefit. So we're going to go through a quick case study here. As you can see, our team here at MFS, especially in the marketing department, we've got a few John Mellencamp fans. So we're going to go from mom and dad to Jack and Diane. Diane here is the higher earner, receiving $10,000 a year at full retirement age. It's not the national average or anything. It just makes the math a lot easier. So let's say Diane's benefit at age 67 is $10,000. What is the most that Jack can receive? It's $5,000, which is 50% of Diane's age 67 benefit. If Jack applies at 62, is he going to receive that same $5,000? No, he's not, because Jack applied before age 67, so it's permanently reduced, again, highlighting those reductions that we're trying to avoid. Now let's say Diane lets her benefit grow until age 70. She's receiving $12,400 now. How much can Jack claim at age 62 and age 67 now? It's exactly the same amount because it's always based off of Diane's age 67 benefit. But what if Diane is receiving a reduced benefit? Let's say she takes it 62, her benefit is only $7,000 now. How much can Jack receive off of Diane while she's still alive? Again, it's exactly the same because always based off of Diane's age 67 benefit. So as we can see here, the spousal benefit plateaus and is always going to be based off that higher earner's age 67 benefit. Regardless of when Diane takes her benefit, that spousal benefit plateaus at age 67. This is going to be different for the survivor benefit, which actually increases and decreases based off when that higher earner claims. All right, speaking of survivor benefit, here's the thing. After the highest earner passes away, the spouse can receive up to 100% of the benefit. I'm going to use my parents as an example. So let's say my dad passes away. My mom can receive up to 100% of the benefit he was receiving. A reduced benefit is available at age 60. Keep in mind, if my mom's still working, that earnings limit still applies. But the key here is that the amount that my mom would receive is based off when my dad claims his retirement benefit. So my dad's decision impacts the benefit that's left for my mom. For the average worker out there, let's say my dad was an average worker out there, the difference between him claiming at 62 versus 70 is $12,000 a year. Everyone think, do you know any widowers who could use an extra $1,000 a month? I certainly do. And for the max earners out there, the difference between my dad claiming at 62 or 70, the benefit that he leaves for my mom, if he's a max earner, is closer to $25,000 a year. And this is why, in my opinion, this is one of the biggest make or break moments when it comes to Social Security, is not maximizing that survivor benefit. And a lot of time on these calls or these webcasts, or if we're doing this in person, some of the men will come up to me after and say, hey, Connor, you know a lot about Social Security, but I don't think you quite understand my unique situation. I worked really hard. I paid a lot of money into Social Security, and I want to make sure I have as much money as possible for golfing, fishing, boating, whatever. And the whole time, all I hear is me, 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 me. Here's the thing. I say this respectfully. From the perspective of Social Security, I don't care about you as an individual. I care about you as a couple. And I recognize by letting Social Security grow, there's an increased chance you could pass away before you receive every dollar that you paid into. But if letting Social Security grow means that we're going to give your spouse the highest source of inflation adjusted monthly income for the rest of their life, and that gives you a little bit of a peace of mind that you did everything you could to protect them financially, and I think it's worth the wait. And I think it's worth considering maximizing that survivor benefit. All right, now we're going to transition to divorce benefits. As long as you were married for 10 years, you can receive a benefit off of your ex as long as they're age 62, dead, or disabled. There is a reason why it's better to be divorced than it is to be married. If you're married, remember, my mom needed my dad to apply for Social Security. If you're divorced, that is not the case. As long as you can show Social Security proof of marriage for 10 years, so that's your marriage certificate and your divorce decree, Social Security will check your benefits against your ex's and give you the higher of the two. Keep in mind, again, that earnings test still applies if you're under 67, so it might not be in your best interest if you're 62 and looking to take a divorce benefit. Good news is you don't have to tell your ex you're taking a benefit off them, and you don't have to coordinate anything with them. Again, proof of marriage for 10 years, you're good to go. Here's the other thing with the divorce benefit in 2024. It's roughly $1,900. I say this because Social Security is not going to release information off of your ex until you're both age 62, but also from a financial planning point of view, it gives you a plug. And if you worked in your own retirement benefits can be greater than $1,800, $1,900, you'll never receive anything off of your ex while they're still alive. What about remarriage? Well, if your ex remarries, wish them well. It's not going to cause any of your benefits to be reduced. I like to use Robert Redford as an example here. He, of course, is the star of another classic Western film, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Robert Redford married his first wife. They were married for 30 years. They got divorced, and then he got remarried. So Social Security is paying benefits to Robert Redford, his first wife, because she never got remarried, and his current wife, and no one's benefit is reduced. But if you remarry, you usually forfeit everything off of your ex. There's two exceptions to that. Exception number one, if you remarry after age 60, you're going to hold on to that survivor benefit, but you forfeit the spousal benefit off of your former spouse. So if you remarry after age 60, you receive the higher of your retirement benefit, the survivor benefit off of your ex, or the spousal or survivor off of your current. Unfortunately, not all three, just the highest of the three. What this also means is you could theoretically jump from survivor benefit to survivor benefit off of your different spouses. So I know we just went through a lot there. A quick example. Everyone on the line here, think about a great friend you have. She's 59 years old. She's a widow or divorcee. She was previously married for 10 years. She comes to you one day. She's got a big old ring on her finger. She's 59. She's engaged. Ignoring everything else, just from the perspective of maximizing her Social Security, when would you recommend that she gets remarried? You would recommend that she gets remarried at or after age 60 so she can keep that survivor benefit off of her ex. It's a silly, arbitrary line in the sand, but the difference between her getting married from 59 and 60 could make a huge difference for her retirement income picture. The other exception to this rule is if your second marriage ends, whether it's divorce, death, annulment. If that second marriage ends, you can become re-entitled to benefits off of your first marriage. All right. We're going to use Jane Fonda as an example here. Jane is, of course, star of another classic Western film, the 1965 Western spoof, Cat Ballou. One of the first Western comedy cult classics. Told you guys I like Western movies. Anyways, Jane Fonda, she was married to Ted Turner. In this case, we're going to call him Theo, as well as Tom Hayden. Both marriages conveniently ended after 10 years. Both marriages ended in divorce. So Jane gets the higher of her retirement benefit, the spousal benefit off of Ted, or since Tom Hayden has since passed away, the survivor benefit off of Tom Hayden. So a couple morals from the story are first, staying married for 10 years definitely has its benefits, but also to keep track of your exes, because you never know if a survivor benefit off of your ex might help bolster your retirement income. All right, we're going to wrap up with everyone's favorite topic, taxes. So as we all know, once you start collecting Social Security, your benefits get added to your income and may become taxable. That's if your income exceeds $25,000 if you're single filing jointly, or $32,000 if you're married filing jointly. The IRS is going to try to tax you from the cradle to the grave. They don't care when you start Social Security. They're going to try to add it to your income so it becomes taxable. But Social Security uses something called combined income to figure out how much of your Social Security benefits get added to your income and becomes taxable. Combined income includes your AGI, so that's your adjusted gross income. That's your pensions, your IRAs, your capital gains, your dividends, basically everything, plus municipal bond income. But the key here is only half of your Social Security benefit is included in that calculation. So the crazy thing is, by letting Social Security grow, you may actually be able to reduce your taxes over the long haul. A couple other things to be aware of is that there's some exclusions from this combined income calculation. So for example, Roths are excluded from this calculation, whereas all your pre-tax IRAs are included. So if you have a Roth, it changes the conversation from do I take my Roth or my pre-tax IRA to what's the right amount I can withdraw from both to really minimize my taxes throughout retirement. What this also means is if you're working and you have that Roth option in your 401k or your 403b, maybe consider shifting some of your pre-tax contributions over to a Roth, even if it's just 1 or 2%, just so you have a little bit more control over your taxes when you hit retirement. All right, so I know we went through a lot. Everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different. Our rule is to give you some information to lead to a good conversation with you, your spouse, and your financial advisor. But with all of that, when do you decide to take Social Security? Number one, are you working? If you're working and under the age of 67, 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be no. The earnings test is going to cause your benefits to be withheld, and it's just not worth it. Number two thing to consider, how much can you withdraw from your portfolio? Talk with your current financial advisor about how much you can safely withdraw from your portfolio to make sure that it lasts throughout retirement. Last thing to think about is life expectancy. Life expectancy is most important. If you're single and you think you're going to live forever, maybe it's best to let Social Security grow for as long as you can. If you're married, though, it's going to be a little bit of a different decision. The reason I say that is there is a 50% chance one of you is going to live till age 92. So if you're married, what a lot of research is suggesting now is that the lower earner takes whenever they can. So if you're retired and you're the lower earner at age 62, maybe consider taking from Social Security. The reason that is you as the lower earner, you're going to switch over to that survivor benefit and maybe even a spousal benefit. If that gives you a little bit of flexibility, maybe taking Social Security takes a little bit of stress off of your portfolio, and it's not a bad idea. But if you are the higher earner, I want to encourage all of you to let Social Security grow for as long as you possibly can so that we can maximize your benefit, which maximizes that survivor benefit, which hopefully maximizes the benefits over both lifetimes. I know we covered a lot today. I appreciate everyone's time. I hope the information we shared can help everyone avoid the bad, avoid the ugly, and take advantage of all the good that Social Security can offer. But appreciate everyone's time today. And if you have any questions, Drew and the team at Standard of Care, I can definitely help you out. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Connor, and thanks everybody else for giving us a little bit of your time today. Again, if you have any questions, please just give us a call or reach out, and we're happy to assist. Thanks again, everybody.